fellow spiritual learners and teachers. Frankie Nicole here. Uh, Happy solstice! Yay! Longest day of the year. I'm celebrating by wearing a tiny teeny bikini because it's beautiful out and I'm feeling better. I mean, I'm a little, feeling a little hungover from yesterday. I had a Friday night fun day, and now I'm paying. But I just drank lots of water, cleanse. Gonna do some sage here. We're gonna get back to the regular state. Now, I was listening to a podcast, and it was talking about hiding in your spirituality, but I want to talk about a few things today. I have a tendency to hide in my spirituality, but I also like to be alone, and that tends to be a good bode well for spiritual practice because you're just focused on things. And I can do a lot of meditating when I'm alone by myself, and especially in the garden and whatnot. And I've had to think over a lot of things, and it's been very constructive to me to have to take a break from normal society because I've been producing a lot of things and just being very creative, and it's been wonderful. I've been tapping into my inner resource really well, but it's I have to go out there and learn lessons too. And the thing is that goes with learning lessons is finding the lesson in the situation. Some situations are more favorable than others. Some are fun and happy experiences, and some are maybe less than. And but the thing is, letting the emotions clog up the situation and not being able to see what the lesson is, and also not being able to hear your intuition when you are out and there's always that pause, and I always feel like I knew it was wrong, or I knew something was like gonna happen or something, and I felt it, but I was like, okay, I don't know how to make this decision because I kind of just want to do it anyways, and sometimes we just want to do it anyways, and so sometimes that's the lesson we have to learn because we know maybe better somewhat, and then we just do it, or we kind of like knew that it was going to go down. Like I think I knew one time when somebody was gonna hit my car or something. Like I had this like, oh, I know, and then they did. I'm like, I mean, there's nothing I could have done to prevent that, but like just acknowledging the intuitive what's the word? The intuitive warning that you get, like and then because then it happens. I'm a little chilly here. It's a little in the shade. I should have moved the chair. So finding the lesson and separating the emotions from the lesson. And then what can you do with that? What do you do with the lesson after that? How do you apply it to the rest of life? Like, how do you, like, move forward? Like, it's all, I talk a lot about, positivity and being, your own cheerleader and whatnot. But, like, how do you go forward with that? Where do you go? Because all talk without action is just talk. Words are good. Words are it's fantastic. We need them to communicate with other humans and sometimes animals, because sometimes animals understand. But then to a certain point, words are good, and then they become lies because they're not fulfilled. They're unfulfilled promises or unfulfilled declarations. Actions. Actions make things set in stone. You do something, you can't undo what you've done. You can make reparations. You can try to amend, but you can't undo that original action. And it sounds like I'm talking about it in a bad way, but there's good actions too. But I know a lot of people have been just really hurting a lot from so much violence around, and those violent acts can't be undone. It hurts people. People have been killed, have been maimed, have been hurt physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and it's important to address those, but it's also really important to take that kernel of a lesson from the experience, and that's when you take what was words maybe at one point and was actions, and then you peel out the tiny little semblance of like understanding out of all of that, and you say, okay, so, and this is what we have now, and then you further on with that. So it's kind of like each thing blossoms into a new thing, and then there's seeds of lessons that happen, and then we continue to plant those seeds in a different manner, in a different way. So, and that's how life continues to go on. You don't just stop and something happens and you fall apart, because then you're not continuing on the seeding. You've died in the ground, and you're dead in the water, and you just your body floats off. There's no germination. There's nothing left. But it's a lot of people tend to stop at that stage because the emotions are very strong. I'm not going to deny it, but like finding the kernel of truth and working towards, because sometimes you fall in that pit. You fall in a deep, deep pit that you've been digging for yourself. And you have been trying to avoid that pit for a long time by saying, oh, it's okay, and covering it with a blanket. But one day, you're just going to walk straight into that pit and forget that blanket is right there. And you just, bam. And then you have to figure out, okay, well, how did I end up digging this pit? And how do I undo the pit? Like, how do I take myself out and be like, okay, I understand why and what happened with this whole pit, and how I'm going to climb out, which is more difficult than just saying that. Actions, get it? Oh, I'm going to climb out of the pit. Okay, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to get out of that the a negative understanding, the thoughts, the process? How did you get in there, and how can you reverse that to get out and continue on and germinate more? So constant reflection, especially, during the day it's hard because we're so busy, but we still have time to think, and we choose sometimes to not think about that but think about other things, and that's perfectly normal. But sometimes then those become distractions, especially when you really need to be working on something that is going to help. Sometimes friends are distractions. Sometimes events are distractions. I'm trying not to make these Solstice Day events be distractions, but I really, really want to go to some fun thing today and dance around a fire like I did this other. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. There was this fire, and the woman danced around, and then the men had the helmet with the deer antlers, and they would jump over, and that was like a sign of fertility. It was just it was awesome. And I think it was it was one of the nights where it was 2 years ago, when the moon was super full, and it was it was a super full Capricorn supermoon, and it was really close to the Earth, and it was so interesting. I was listening to the elders talk, and it was just, I don't know. I felt very magical at that point, and I wish that I would have continued with that magic at that point. But at that point in my life, I was stuck in an emotional hole, basically, and I was digging myself deeper, trying to pretend like I wasn't in a hole. So, yeah, I think that all kind of full circled there. I don't know if I'm making that much sense today. I woke up really early and then went back to bed. always seems to be a good plan for me. So let's move on to the love cards. Yay, solstice. It kind of is lasting this, it starts today, the 20th, but I mean, it'll be going on for a little bit, the 21st and whatnot, and it's just happy times. Okay, so we have 4. And I mean, a lot of these are like, I think a lot of these repeat themselves, but I think that it's, I just think it's good to like remind yourself every day of like love and keep it continuing. Like, yes, it doesn't just end one day, things don't just the planetary movements don't just end in a day. Sometimes they only last for a few hours, but sometimes they last, full moons last 3 days. And so, you know gauging the time of the energy that is surrounding, it's okay to like continually work on something. Like new moons, they last longer than just a day too. Life is forever changing in accordance with nature's divine will. May we lovingly embrace the life-changing seasons in the knowledge that all that is it should be, and that love is all there is. So today is the change of the season. We're switching over. We're celebrating the solstice, the longest day. We now are moving into days moving shorter, and we are in the headed towards the fall equinox. But we still have wonderful summer ahead of us. So time to make just wonderful plans with people and enjoy the sun. Enjoy being a child of the earth. Get out there, socialize, be free, be lighthearted. The summer is for lightheartedness. Don't forget your spiritual work, of course, but be lighthearted. I'm going to try to be a little bit more lighthearted. That is my pledge. I'm going to try and be a little bit less gripped on, like, white-knuckled on, on, my focus. But I'm going to stay on my focus, but I'm going to have some fun. It's going to be good. Someone was talking about white knuckles when they were crossing a rickety bridge. One of my friends who was over in the Philippines. Bridges aren't as sturdy as ours, but ours aren't that sturdy either because they're dropping shit and killing people. Positivity. Now we know that we need to have better directed road, construction people. Like, we must have that. It's very important. Otherwise, people will die. You are loved more than you consciously know. Share your insecurities with the one you love. You will be surprised and reassured by their reaction. Love is all around you. So, love is all around you. Maybe you think that people around you don't think favorably of you, or certain events have transpired and you've just felt the lack of energy from other people. People aren't calling your way. You're not invited to social events. Not necessarily all of that really is top priority important, because what's most important is what your mental clarity and stability and happiness. But, it's nice to have that social aspect of life, which is why we have all these people on this planet. But talk to people, open up, don't be so guarded, and know that there is love to be received. Someone was talking to me yesterday about how people rarely have much time to think about you because they're mostly focused on thinking about themselves, which is true. Alright, 2 hearts merge through an explosion of love. United they create unlimited wealth. Together they fulfill their dreams. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. I surrender all negative beliefs that no longer serve me and replace them with loving thoughts and intentions. From this moment on, I will only listen to the voice of love. Your love is an endless source of inspiration. So don't fear it. Just let it go. Don't always go to the negative. I know I tend to latch onto that, like, fear of, like, but, um, and it just doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do any good whatsoever. It just, I usually just get, like, sassy mouth. That sounds bad in a sense, but it's also, I don't know, sassy face, sassy frass, sass mouse. Speaking of mouse, my cat caught a live mouse and brought it into the house yesterday, and I was like, you cannot bring your toys alive or dead into the house, so I caught it. And it was a jumper, too. It was like, wanted to get the hell away from everybody. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna get eaten! So I had to pick it up with these gloves, and then I let it out in the garden here, because I didn't think he deserved to die just because he got caught in the hedge by Violet. And then she spent the rest of the afternoon looking for that mouse. Woo! I felt kind of shitty because I was like, I did take your prize, your toy, but you can't bring it in the house. Okie dokie. Oh, we have 2 punctuation marks. Oh boy. Alright. We got some good cards here. Alright, we have the Ten of Pentacles, which signifies wealth and abundance. And I think I'm just going to read the regular cards first and then punctuate it. I'll switch it up. Get a little crazy on you. Yes, so this is, I think that's amazing. There are 2 people on the tree, kissing the tree, and it's like just abundance and comfort and things just coming to fruition in a practical sense. I mean, this is like, it's the end of the Pentacles suit. You know, it's the castle, the kingdom. Well, I mean, not exactly, because that's more the king, but in a sense, everything is met. We have this large tree with all these knobby branches on it, signifying just, you know, like almost like a family tree. You know, it does represent family in a sense, because, or like home, and how it's kind of like grown and built, and the different branches have sprouted, and there's different, you know, people in the you know, life. And it also actually has a Star of David on the tree, which is interesting. I'm not really familiar with Judaism practices, but I know that a lot of they're very family oriented and very about tradition. So it could also possibly talk about tradition. And then we have 7 of Pentacles, which is kind of like the building up. The you know, you see it in the oh, excuse me, the making. So perhaps we're not quite at the end, but there's a projection of the end coming, and it's very near, and you see it. You see the plans. You see what is to be built. What is there to build on. And then we have the Four of Cups, which usually talks about stability, but it can also talk about holding on to things. But you know, with the stability of the Ten of Pentacles, I want to say that this is probably more like we have a stable emotional setting. We also have our little one Ace of Cups there, so you know, the last cup is coming in to make it stable. And we have, you know, we're sitting on our lily pad, feeling fine and dandy. And I think it's because Mr. King of Cups has come in, and he's bringing his cup, and he says, "Here I bring my cup to you." and I'm going to help make this stability happen. So perhaps there's some kind of energy, this King of Cups energy coming in, making a stability of emotional support, and a plan of um, long-term wealth. So then we have the Hermit and the Wheel of Fortune in reverse as our punctuation marks. And it's interesting because all of these cards were upright, so that's good. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse is not negative necessarily. It just means that you have to work at making the wheel turn. You have to grease the squeaky wheel. You have to encourage to try and get it going. You have to actually do something. It's you in the driver's seat this time, not the universe just, making things happen. And then we have the Hermit. The Hermit's been a lot lately, and I really love the Shaman, and it reminds me of like everybody who I'm probably gonna see at the Solstice Day, where it's got like their staff and their like beads and jewels, and it's fun. But it's more talking about spending time figuring out the inner guidance, inner light, really reading that inner intuition and what is like the right thing for you. It's a lot of times spending alone time and just trying to figure stuff out. So perhaps there's some kind of plan being made, but there it's going to take some time to figure out, because you need to move the wheel along, and you have to move the wheel along in your own consciousness and spend some time alone figuring out exactly what it is inside that you want and should do. Alright, so with that, I bid you adieu. I'm going to go get out in the sun and dance around like a fool, like the fool that I am. Sagittarius, the fool at your service, always. But also Temperance, because, I'm a 2-y. Better than a 1-y. No, kidding. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful solstice, and peace, love, and light. I think I'm going to start ending with that, because I think I want to start putting more peace, love, and light out there. More than I'm already doing, but, emphasizing it with words. And then actions will follow. Alright,